Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
The robots are taking over. Justice Gorsuch has a weird opinion. America was founded as a Christian nation. He claims not. Wow. Jay Clayton, backed by the Senate. License plate readers aren't going away. Major gun trafficking rings disband. FBI hostage teams in the news. ICE suspends most vehicle stops. And the U.S. tightens pressure on Cuban and Mexican drug cartels. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman, the good sheriff. Richard Mack with me, CSPOA.org. That's the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Become part of the posse today, CSPOA.org. And his incredible book, The Democrat Murder of America. Murderofamerica.com for your copy today. Demagoguery in the First Degree. Written by Daniel Perkins and our Sheriff Richard Mack. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks so much, Sam. It's great to be back with you this beautiful Tuesday morning.
Neil Gorsuch, Supreme Court Justice, rejects claims that America was founded as a Christian nation. He says, quote, "I just don't see it that way." During a recent interview on Firing Line with Margaret Hoover, or whatever her name is, he rejected the idea that America was founded as a Christian nation. And he points to all kinds of different things to make his point. He says we weren't necessarily just a white Christian nation, pointing to the Declaration of Independence, religious diversity, and the First Amendment to make his points. And he said, yeah, we're rooted in the founding equality principles, but we're not involved in a single race or religion. So the funny part about the headline is when you first hear it, you go, what? He's saying we're not a Christian nation. But then when you really dig in and hear the interview, and this is the weird part that I think that the mainstream press loves to play games and sow division, Sheriff Mack, because he didn't really say we're not a Christian nation all by itself. When you start to add, are we a Christian white nation, then he says, I just don't see it that way. So think about it, a single race or a single religion. We would all agree that we're not if you start to put all those kind of handcuffs or parameters around it. And that's kind of how he was answering the question. The sad part is in the mainstream press, he's going to get beat up all over it if they don't put it all in context. If you say to me, Sam, do you believe we're a white-only Christian nation based on one race, one religion? I would say, of course not. But if you say to me, generally, do you believe that we are founded as a Christian nation on Christian principles? I would say clearly the answer is a resounding yes. It's very nuanced. Sheriff, your thoughts?
Well, the first thoughts I had was the first paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, where it talks about the backdrop of our entire government was based on the laws of nature and nature's God. And then the second paragraph, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All of that sounds pretty Christian or godly anyway, whether you say it's Christian or deity or God the Father or whatever, the Creator. The Creator is, in the Bible, Jehovah. So that's actually Jesus Christ. And so Yahweh, whatever term in the Old Testament you want to use to how he was named. But I find it, one, startling that he needs to even make this an issue.
Well, this is why I kind of think that they created something in the media that's kind of designed to bait people and divide people, okay? So listen to the arguments that says America was not founded as a Christian nation, because this is kind of what Gorsuch is talking about. The Constitution never declares Christianity as a national religion. The First Amendment bars Congress from establishing a religion. Article 5 prohibits religious tests for federal office.
Right.
The Constitution authority comes from we the people, not from Scripture. The federal government was designed to protect religious liberty for all faiths. The Constitution established a secular government that protects religion rather than creating a Christian state. Christian influence on American culture and many founders' personal beliefs does not by itself make the United States a constitutionally Christian nation. And so that's what they would claim. Now, the reason people reach different conclusions on this, by the way, is they use different definitions of what does a Christian nation mean. So you said nature's God. Well, Vivek Ramaswamy would say, I believe in nature's God too, but he's not a Christian. And so there's a debate about cultural / historical. America was certainly deeply shaped by Christianity. And if you talk about constitutional / legal, the federal government was not established as a Christian government. So it becomes very debatable when you start to look at things through those lenses, right?
I have a timeout on that one.
Sure.
And maybe he needs a timeout. Maybe, I'm sure you're going to quote this, so I'm going to preempt you.
By all means.
Let's see. What did John Adams say about our Constitution? It was meant for a moral and religious people and is wholly inadequate for any other.
That's right. So Vivek Ramaswamy would say, I'm very religious. I'm just not a Christian.
Okay. And that's fine. I don't believe for 1 minute that any of the founders meant that everybody had to be a Christian. I mean, it's freedom of religion and it's freedom from religion. And I wrote a book about this.
That's right.
The book, I think you might remember it. Government, God, and Freedom, a Fundamental Trinity. Maybe I need to bring it back and get it reprinted. But
you do,
because
for sure. And you might want to do an updated version to highlight this, right?
Maybe so. But I've dedicated my life to the Democrat murder of America, so I don't know when I would ever do it. But the thing of it is that it doesn't take very long to get quotes from many of the founding fathers that they intended this to be a godly country, a moral country. And John Adams,
and that's my point about why I believe the mainstream press with this interview is sowing seeds of division, because Neil Gorsuch would agree with you on all those points. Let me give you the positive, as America was founded as a Christian nation, which this goes along with my beliefs more so. Many founders were Christians and frequently quoted the Bible. Biblical ideas influenced concepts of dignity, morality, and humanity that are all from the Bible. The 3 branches of government come from the Bible. The separation of powers, the idea that we shouldn't have kings. Natural rights were viewed by many of the founders as coming directly from God. The Declaration of Independence, as you mentioned, appeals directly to divine providence. Early state constitutions actually clearly acknowledge God, or directly, even more so, Christianity, and more so even at the state level.
Right.
We can go on and on and on about these arguments, but at the end of the day, everybody can have their opinion, and it's hard to argue who's right and wrong, right? I would
love to see it, Sam, that we just follow the Constitution. Okay?
Ooh,
I don't care. I don't care if you believe that this was a Christian nation, founded as a Christian nation. I don't care. But I do care that everybody in government and everybody in our country follow the law and enforce and defend the United States Constitution. Oh, they swear that in the name of God also. Wow. But we have got to do that. And I think this is a distraction a little bit, because I agree. I don't care what religion people are, or even if they're religious, but I do care that this Constitution was founded to keep us free, and we better get back to it.
Well, here's what George Washington talked about. He talked about we cannot survive unless we're a moral and a religious people. And so a moral people, in my opinion, relates to the 10 Commandments. Now, others would say, no, it doesn't. He didn't say that. That's right. He didn't say that. So this is why it gets very nuanced. I look at it and say we need to be a moral and a religious people. If your religion isn't Christian, but it leads you to a better life, it will lead you to peaceful behavior in society. The Ten Commandments, whether they come from God or they're just a great creed for good government and good proper role of behavior, debate them how you want to. At the end of the day, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. The redneck version, don't hurt me, don't take my stuff.
Right.
We can debate it all day long. And the First Amendment says not only will the government not make a specific religion, and there shouldn't be any religious litmus tests, but at the same time, a litmus test, that just says the government can't create a specific religion. The government can't prohibit us from worshiping however we want to either.
That's right.
So it's a very interesting twist. At the end of the day, I think they're using this to divide, and I reject it and say anybody who stands for immoral, religious people stands with me.
Every day, Americans are told to hate each other while the people in power keep winning. But what if there's another path? What if Americans could come together and take this country back peacefully before it's too late? The Democrat murder of America, Demagoguery in the First Degree, exposes the corruption, manipulation, government failures, and political games pushing Americans further apart while our country slips deeper into crisis. Inside, you'll discover powerful insights into political hypocrisy, media bias, government overreach, the national debt crisis, and the growing culture of division destroying trust in America. More importantly, this book offers a call for peaceful action, accountability, unity, and restoring the values that once made this nation strong. If you're frustrated with the direction of this country and looking for answers outside the mainstream narrative, this book was written for you. Join fellow Americans who still believe this nation is worth fighting for. Available now at murderofamerica.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
Sheriff Mack, standing tall, still answering freedom's call, a badge of promise, a constitutional track history. Won't forget Sheriff Mack.
Neil Gorsuch, I believe, being taken to the woodshed by Margaret Hoover over on firing line. Because I believe they're playing games. And when you dig into the details of the conversation, at first you think, oh my gosh, Neil doesn't even believe we're a Christian nation at all. But the way you word it is very interesting, Sheriff. And I want to get to this. This is important. And this directly relates to your book, The Democrat Murder of America. I believe this division is intentionally created, as you pointed out, as a distraction and as a way to divide us and make us fight over stupid things. For example, if I say to you, is America a white Christian nation, Sheriff? Do you see how I've just baited you into so much controversy? You'll never live it down no matter how you answer.
Well, how many different, to be honest, historically, how many different races were in the colonies of the first 4 million people that lived here?
A bunch.
Besides the slaves, I mean.
Well, you can say besides the slaves, but even so, it's still a bunch. I mean, because you got to debate, what does white mean?
Well,
does white mean a whole group of Christian nations, but everybody else is divided as not white? Yeah. What does white mean? For example, was Christopher Columbus white?
No. They would consider him that. They would consider him, at least the natives thought he was, but.
Is Barack Obama white?
Was it half white? Yes.
Yeah, half. Okay, but he was black. See, you can't say he was white. What's wrong with you? And so my point being,
he was light black.
My point, when you look at this, though, if I say a white Christian nation, do you see how I've loaded that? So he says, no, we weren't. Because it wasn't just for whites. It wasn't just for Christians as whoever defines it. So then he pointed to, listen carefully, the Declaration of Independence, religious diversity, the founders, and the First Amendment prohibition on establishing a religion. And he says America's identity is rooted in its founding principles, listen, of equality, God-given rights. So he literally points to God-given rights, though, and self-government. And I agree with his points in that sense. So I believe when you throw in white and you throw in Christian like that, and then you bait that thing, you literally cock the gun and hand it to everybody, no matter how they answer, with a goal to divide and manipulate. Shame on you, Margaret, in my opinion, for this, because the interview makes it sound like, oh, Gorsuch is against God and against Christians, and it isn't true. He didn't say that. He's just saying that, hey, factually, there's no litmus test. Factually, the Constitution doesn't talk about a Christian nation. Yeah, we had some founding principles, and the founders believed in Christian religions, a lot of them. But even Ben Franklin's an interesting discussion in that. I mean, he started out not really believing in religion, although his family was very religious, and he kind of rejected it and went to the science route. But over his life, he became more and more, then ended up kind of a deist, and then ended up, more of a Christian towards the end of his life. And his claim is very valuable. Hey, if a sparrow, depends on God, can we rise as a nation without his aid? That famous quote and everything. So the debate becomes very difficult when you pick one side or the other and you lay claims to it. The government was never intended to promote religion. In fact, the government, you can't create a religion, and you can't stop us from worshiping how we want to. So government, get out of religion. That's the general statement. However, if you look at the three branches of government, if you look at the founding fathers' quotes and claims, they used to pray to a Christian God in Congress and everything else. I think to some degree they still do in some ways, right? So you got to look at this and go, wow, I believe this is an intentional divide. And the reason that I bring this up is because I think that we should stop this divide. And we should say, hey, what if you do believe that? Is it okay to believe that, Sheriff?
Yeah, it is. And I ask atheists or others, is it okay if we have a prayer before we start our meeting as legislators? Why would they object? If they don't believe in God, what difference does it make? And so
if they want to stand up when it's their turn to pray as an atheist, do they want to just get up there and go, hey, man, I just pray to humanity for the best of humanity, and I hope everybody can be kind and civil and peaceful, and I hope the best for our country, and by golly, that's my prayer, for heck's sakes. They can say that too if they want to.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope in some way that any atheist that's a legislator anywhere in the country, which we know there are some, that they still are moral, and that they are even religious in some way by nature. And I know I am.
So the religious could be, I have a moral code. I don't believe we should steal, and I don't believe we should kill, and I don't believe we should betray our spouses or our children, and I don't believe we should commit fraud, and whatever you want to go through. I mean, the moral code here is critical, right?
Yeah, of course. And so I don't understand atheism. I admit it. And my friends.
We used to have a friend that was atheist, Michael Bednarik, who's passed away now, but he used to be a big atheist. And I used to have all kinds of discussions with him about this. But I believe he meant to be a good, honest, moral person.
Yeah. And I always wanted to ask him, where is the basis for his moral judgments and for his own personal morality?
I've asked him. He said it's in my heart and it's in my head.
Yeah, and it's by nature. He says, he's all for that nature's God thing. And so, was he a good man?
All for the nature thing.
Well, yeah. But
he was a good man. This up. Here's the reason I bring this up. I believe that your book directly addresses this. The Democrat Murder of America. Demagoguery in the first degree. And I believe this interview that they had is just this. Dividing people on firing line, Margaret Hoover or whatever. Why are you asking the Supreme Court justice this baited question? If you just said, hey, do you believe we're a Christian nation, left it at that, but it was, do you believe we are a white Christian nation, Supreme Court justice, a white, single religion nation? The way you put it, of course he's going to say no. And then you're going to use that and drive that as a wedge across America. I think it's a disgrace, Sheriff.
Well, it is, and that's typical media. And obviously, we attack the media big time in the book. And the professor in charge of attacking CSPOA and me from Arizona State University, the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, which is really the Walter Cronkite School of Yellow Journalism, or it should be even stronger, where we teach the training school to teach students how to lie in their journalistic efforts.
And walk the line and never get sued for their lies.
Oh, yeah, of course. And we probably should have sued them. And, I just didn't have time or the money to go after that 2 or 3 5-year battle. And they know how to drain you because ASU has all the money and they just keep draining us and draining us. But at the same time, I wrote an email to Mark Greenblatt, the head of the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. And he was there at the presentation that I gave, and Rick Dalton accompanied me.
And he knows the truth full well.
Full well. And so in the book, I call him out. And I say a very direct cut to him. You, sir, are a liar. And I just told him about the book. And I said, and you're mentioned in the book in a very bad light. And so I said, oh, by the way, we're open to do any interviews about the book. So I try to just needle him a little bit. But then again, CNN, Sarah Sidner, same thing. Scott Friedman from NBC affiliate in Dallas. And all of these people,
they're not allowed to diverge for their talking points, right?
Well, of course. No way.
I had that experience when I was shut down. I could have made a lot of money in radio, but they told me you got to start talking less about God, Sam, and I had to leave over that. And then Glenn Beck even talked about Fox shutting him down over talking about God, right? So this is a very poignant, divisive issue, intentionally used as a wedge, I'm convinced.
Of course. Yeah, and it is. And so I want all of them. IREHR, Sam, who's gone after you and me. Rolling Stone, who's gone after you and me, probably you even more. And any and all of these. Southern Poverty Law Center's gone after both of us. What was it? Daily Beast, Mother Jones.
They all go after us. The funny thing about that is that some of these organizations, when they don't really realize who we are, they sit down and have a great conversation. And then when they find out who we are, they melt down. And that happened with the Daily Beast. Oh. I was at the Republican National Convention in 2016 with Trump and company. And I interviewed a Daily Beast author, and he had a great time on the show. At the end, I said, that was wonderful. I know we don't agree on everything, but will you come back? And he's like, oh, absolutely. Just call me. And then later he's trashed me in the media like, oh, my gosh, I didn't even know who I was talking to and this kind of stuff. And so, folks, the bottom line is that the Democrat murder of America really highlights this, that all they're doing is everything to destroy the country, Sheriff. And that is the point.
Yeah, it is. And it's really sad that they've gone that way. And I would just, right now, I know some of them monitor your show.
Of course they do.
And so I want to tell all of them right now, why aren't you attacking us, me, my co-author, about this book? It's a horrible title. It's an extremely offensive title. Why hasn't anybody from the left brought any attention to the book and how horrible it is?
Because they know if they do, then you're going to have real discussions, Sheriff, and they don't want that, buddy.
Yeah, of course.
Can't have real discussions, can't expose the truth, because it's not only Democrats that are destroying America. People that describe to that demagoguery and ideology are the people destroying America. And I use this example to illustrate the point, though. Why do we want to bait the Supreme Court justice and give him when did you quit beating your wife question? Right. You can't win. It's designed to polarize and divide. And I just say this, I pray we can restore America, we can be kind to one another, and we can become a moral and religious people. Worship how, where, or what you may. That's my response. And hey, I don't care if you're white or not. I just hope that we can bring the blessings of liberty to not only America, but the whole wide world, baby. I'm Sam Bushman, CSPOA.org, the good sheriff, with me, Sheriff Richard Mack. The Democrat murder of America, murderofamerica.com. God save our constitutional republic.